another edition of the University Research Training. Of course, we have participants that is beyond the walls of our university, but I want to welcome all of us. It's always the same. Every Friday, 8 a.m., we need to learn new things around research and to acquire skills that helps to drive our understanding of research and how we do research. So today, again, today is no exception. We have a seasoned scholar in our midst who will be taking us on a very important topic. Um, and I'm welcoming all of us in the name of the Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Development, Obafemi University, in the person of Professor Apamia Akinyemi, who is in transit now and is not able to join. Also, the Postgraduate College of the University and the Postgraduate Student Association are also, these are the three bodies that are organizing this training, this weekly training. So I want to thank you all for coming, for joining, and for joining early today. Without wasting our time, we want to welcome our speaker in the person of Professor Tolulokpe Osayomi, who is an associate professor in the Department of Geography at the University of Ibadan. He holds a PhD in medical geography from the University of Ibadan and has close to 15 years of teaching and research experience. His scholarship examines how geography shapes health and disease in African context with core interest in disease mapping, spatial demography, global health, medical humanities, and the geography of pandemics and vaccination. He is currently a Church International Fellow at the University of Oxford, and he is going to be our speaker today. To welcome us briefly, let me invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor who has joined to see if he's able to speak and just give us a brief word of welcome. And then after that, I would be inviting the Director of University Research Office um, to just say a few words to us. Professor Atene, sir.
Thank you, Dimeji. Let me say good morning also to every one of us and a happy weekend. Again, I want to welcome us on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Adebayo Simeon Bamire, to this morning's early coffee research methodology this morning. Again, welcome. Let me specially recognize and appreciate my brother, Professor Tolu Osayomi, a top scholar of very strong international reputation, but yet very humble. So, Prof, thanks for honoring this our invitation, and thanks for all you do, in promoting scholarship. Sincerely, we are proud of you, and as usual, we are here, everybody with the mug of coffee, waiting to fill our cups as you distill, of your coffee, research coffee maker for us this morning. Thank you so much, and again, I welcome us. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Professor Odu, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly, sir.
Yeah, good morning. I want to welcome every one of us to this Friday seminar series. This morning, I believe that Professor Shayomi we do justice to the topic, and I believe that at the end of it, we have our questions, well prepared and then answered by him. So I welcome all of you to this presentation this morning. So over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Without further ado and without wasting our time, we want to invite Professor Tolu Osayomi to take us this morning. So, sir, you can share your screen and the floor is yours.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a pleasure to be here. First of all, I would like to put on record my appreciation to the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Professor Akoni Akiemi, a man whom I deeply respect and honor, and also very, very humble too. Thank you very much, sir. And it's so nice to be in the midst of colleagues. And by the way, greetings from the University of Ibadan. The title of my presentation is The Craft of Scholarly Writing. I know this is one topic that is very central to the academic enterprise. And I know that we can't achieve much success if we've not mastered the crafts. So my presentation outline proceeds in the following order. So after these introductory remarks, we'll then look at why do we write, all right? And then also have a look at, excuse me, my interpretive framework for this presentation, and then also share some personal insights on this crafts, and then also further tips on mastering the craft, and then we conclude the presentation. So I just want to start by asking, why do you write? Can you please just share with me in the chat box why you write? I just want to have a sense of, have a feel of your pulse. Can you just share with me some comments, your perspectives on why you write? Okay, to share knowledge. One says to provide information on what is happening in my field, okay? To explore a topic of interest, for information, to communicate my thoughts and perspective. Yes, I like that. Yeah, we have one here. It says to document ideas. Great. To archive knowledge. Yes. To keep records. Yes, that's also archiving knowledge. To share new knowledge and innovative solutions and ideas. Great, wonderful. Okay, to share practical experience. Fantastic. Share results of research, to communicate knowledge. Someone says for promotion, as I was expecting that too. Yeah, and also to add something to the body of knowledge. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing these very, very insightful perspectives here. So that's the reason why we all write, all right? And you will see why we write, why people write. As one of us did say, for promotion. Now we have there's the culture of publish or perish. So if you don't publish, you know that you can't advance in your academic career. So it's either you publish or you perish. Now, some people write for passion. I have a collaborator in the University of Oxford. So one day over lunch, I asked him the question. I noticed that he has, you know, he has very good written communication skills. And I asked him, how did he arrive at this? How did he, you know, develop these skills? And he said he just loves to write. He enjoys writing a lot. And so people are very, very passionate about, you know, about writing. Some also write for the sake of emancipation. Some write to just, you know, express their innermost thoughts. Some write actually to emancipate others too. Okay, I would share the example of a mentor of mine at the University of Lagos, who writes from the perspective of social justice, who writes to defend the urban poor, who writes to defend the voiceless and the marginalized people. And then some writes because of the monetary benefits that are associated with it. And some also write because they want to be famous. They want to be the most cited, you know, author the most cited researcher in the world. And of course, as many of you indicated, we write for knowledge, so as to acquire knowledge and also to share the knowledge. It's very important that we have a clear vision for writing as academics. All right, so that is the reason why that question was posed to all of you. Why do you write? And you must have that clear vision. What does it all add up to? What's the ultimate? To what end? So what's the reason? What's the purpose for having this for writing? So you have to have a clear vision for writing. And that plan or that vision differs from one person to the other. Okay, so what works for me might not work for you. So you have to actually sit with yourself, engage yourself, and understand why it is you have to write. So as I said earlier on, writing is very, very central to the academic enterprise, right? And of course, we all know that our cardinal role as academics is to produce knowledge, shape it, and also distribute it too. And writing is very critical to that. So it's a critical skill. We can't do without it, all right? Because it's a vehicle of communication, and it's also, how do I put it now? It's also a vehicle of critical thought too. It drives critical thinking, all right? So it's not just about, merely reporting findings or ideas at best, all right? So you have to be very, very intentional about how you write and see how you are able to effectively communicate your ideas to your audience. But now the terror of, publish and perish now, the publish and perish syndrome in the global academy now is really putting a lot of pressure on academics to write and publish, especially with heavy teaching and administrative responsibilities. We have a lot, especially in this part of the world where we have heavy teaching and administrative loads. And we also have to publish at the same time, because we won't say that because I was the exam officer or I was the PG coordinator, I wasn't able to publish. No, there's no excuse. You just have to, make time to write and publish too. All right. So there's a lot of pressure in that regard. And you now see that has now led, you can now see that academic now, publishing now is not a game of numbers. You find out that people are just countless papers, particularly in predatory and exploitative journals. All right. So it's become a very big issue now. So, but the question is, we have to also make sure we try and strike a balance between quantity and quality. So it's not just about having 100 or 1,000 papers, but it's also having very high quality outputs. And of course, we now have the issue of, now that AI is now on the scene, AI has come to stay, really. I don't support, the use of AI in academic writing, but it can be useful for some other purposes. And it also brings to mind a proverb that this English proverb we were taught in primary school, which says, fire could be a good servant, but a very bad master. So the same thing could be said about AI too. It could be a very good servant if you put it to productive uses. You could use it to brainstorm. You could use it to, language editing. For instance, you want to understand see if you could just put in a prompt. What do you feel about what I have written? Is this good enough? Where do you think I could, what areas could I improve upon? But not that you outsource your entire thinking and writing to AI. I could say a lot more about AI, but time will not permit me. Now, I would like to share with you a movie. Many years ago, when my mother used to be a member of the British Council Library here in Ibadan. One day she brought home this movie, because apart from the fact that the British Council Library had books, it also had a video collection, a rental video collection. I'm sure those of us in the late 80s and 90s will remember what I'm talking about, rental videos. So they had a video collection. So she brought home this movie. called Finding Forrester. For me, this is one of the best movies I've ever watched. The best movies of the 20th century, or the 21st century. It's about a Black American kid from the Bronx in New York, USA, who was very, very gifted child, teenager, who was given admission to one of the best schools in New York, high elites for the very, very rich kids. And he was there, but, he had problems. Of course, because he was a Black kid, his teachers, felt very uncomfortable having a Black American in their school. But anyway, he encountered this man, William Forrester, who was a very famous novelist, but he later became very frustrated with his writing career. So, and this man discovered that Jamal, that's the name of this Black American kid, was a very, very talented writer, and he decided to help him to sharpen his writing skills. And I'm going to be drawing some very, very pertinent lessons from this movie. And it's a movie I would encourage you to please watch. Maybe at the end of this presentation or at the end of the day, I will encourage you to please download and watch it. You will really enjoy it. Now, some of my personal insights I would like to share with you is, first of all, to be a good writer, you have to be an intense reader. And you also have to be a persistent note taker. I take lots of notes. Those who know me very well, I have so many notebooks in my office where I take down scribble notes on anything and anywhere. I have them in my house, I have them in my office. Sometimes I even have them in my car. So, and I read a lot. My books could be on the dining table, they could be anywhere. All right, so you have to be a very, very voracious reader. And it's very important that you also have mentors and you also yield yourself to mentoring too. It's very important. Then also, it's also important to challenge stereotypes too when we are in the writing process. And most importantly, we need to find our voice. We need to be authentic. We need to be organic. It has to be Tolu Oshayomi. When you are being read, they know that this is Tolu Oshayomi speaking. This is Dimeji Ogunye speaking. And then, of course, I would also share with you what I consider to be the first commandment of writing. Well, you can, as I said, intense reading. Sorry, excuse me. Now, Jamal's mother in the movie, one day his teacher invited his mother to school. They went for an interaction, and they were very pleased with his academic performance in this. He attended a public school before he eventually was moved to this private school. So the mother, the teacher told the mother that they were really pleased with his academic, but the mother said something about him, which he says that, I see him reading all these books all the time. Books I have never read. All right, some I have never heard of, and he's always writing in his notebooks. All right, so this actually alludes to the fact that you need to be a reader. A writer is first a reader, so you must be able to read. All right, and this kid, in that movie, he demonstrated his knowledge in world history and also in English literature. Okay. In so many instances, you will see him, making references to some world events, making citations, references to Shakespearean, English, American literature, and so on and so forth. So it's very important that we read. And one of my mentors, whom I admire very much, which is Professor Ebenezer Badari. You can see that is his personal library. Okay, this was at an IIS workshop we had in 2020. That was the first Zoom digital edition of that IIS Summer Institute. But in 2017, when I was in Ife, he made a remark, which I noted down, was scholars, we need to read widely, intensely, and promiscuously. And what he means by promiscuously is that you must be able to read anything, whether it's related to your field or not. You must be able to read. You must be able to engage with materials that are useful, but seemingly unrelated to your discipline, all right? Because reading sharpens and also lubricates one's writing, all right? Personally, I read Arabic poetry. Okay? I'm someone that is into the humanities. I love to read poems. I read a lot of history. I do a lot of history. I love reading history books. And I also engage with anthropology, literature and anthropology. And then one of my hobbies is to also read autobiographies. And there are two autobiographies that I really love so much. Is those of Professor Aki Pugbe, Professor of Medicine here at the University of Ibadan, and our former Vice Chancellor, Professor Ayo Banjo. These two gentlemen are what we call wordsmiths. I have never seen writing at that level before. So if you want to be a very good writer, you must learn from the best. You must stand on the shoulders of others. You must sit at the foot of the finest writers. And then also read critically. All right, many times we read passively. It's important that we challenge some of these taken for granted statements. Sometimes we see statements in the literature and we'll be like, well, we accept. No, we should be able to challenge, not just read hook, line, and sinker. Now, again, when Jamal finally established contact with this novelist, this veteran novelist, William Forrester, in that movie again, he did say that I helped him is Jamal now, to find his own words by starting off with some of mine. So you see here, this man providing mentorship to this Black American kid. And that is something that I also got from my own mentors too, such as Professor Afe Adogame. Professor Afe Adogame of Princeton Theological Seminary, New Jersey, is a very intense writer. I mean, the way he writes, he's very intense. I think that's just all I can say about him. Seeing is believing. If you've read his works or read his papers, you would know that he's very intense. And he is very keen on, driving on his points. The gentleman in the middle is my PhD supervisor, Professor Stanley Okafor, retired. Professor Okafor is one of the finest writers I have ever read. When you read his works, you would think you are in a dialogue with him. You are having a dialogue. And that is the way your writing should be too. You should have a dialogue with your reader. Okay? And then the last but not the least is Professor Akinla Omabubuje, Nigeria's first professor of geography. I have read so many of Baba's papers, and whenever I read his works, he's demystifying, he's simplifying. He reduces very complex issues to very simple terms. He reduces them to very simple terms. And I really so much enjoy reading them too. So you need to have mentors too. People like Professor Akani Akiyemi, read their works, see how they write, how do they conceptualize issues. And of course, the very beautiful lady here, Professor Taiba Lanson at the University of Lagos. She is somebody that writes from the perspective of social justice. She was the one I made reference to earlier on. She is someone that, exemplifies how writing could be used to represent and also advocates for the marginalized populations. Now, in this movie again, Jamal had serious issues with his classroom teacher, because his classroom teacher could not understand how a Black American kid could write so well. And the boy responded and said, "What has being Black got to do with anything?" So that's to let you know that we live in a very, very unequal world. And it also lets you know that excellent writing can tear down societal barriers. All right. Sometimes I get comments like, you write so well for a Nigerian. Please, when you get this kind of comments, don't take offense. Just learn to rise above all of that. All right. But again, too, I often hear colleagues and even students of mine who say that I can't kill myself. English is not my mother tongue. But we've inherited it. It's a colonial legacy. But the other thing is that it is also the language of international communication, and it's also the language of globalization. We can't do without it. So it's very important that, yes, I know we are also decolonizing, we are also privileging other languages, but it's also very important that we are able to communicate effectively in English. And that's why it's important that we also find our voice, okay? Again, Jamal's mentor advises Jamal that when you begin to feel your own words, start typing or writing them. So that voice refers to that distinctive style of the writer. All right, for me, writing is more like it's a journey of self-discovery. When I write, I tend to discover my most innermost thoughts. If I get to know more about myself, my sentiments, my temperaments, and even my architecture, my intellectual architecture, if I could put it that way. And then also, it helps you to develop your personal and authentic voices, because sometimes when people write, you will see that, no, this is not organic, this is not authentic. It's so flat, it's so dry, it's so hard. So stop conforming to expectations. Try and see how you can write to reflect your personality, all right? And for me, I'm someone that is very, very reflective, all right? And I think I got this quote. I don't know where I got this quote from. It's possibly from the movie, but somebody says here that I write because I don't know what I think until I read what I say. I'll read that again. I write because I don't know what I think until I read what I say. So don't see writing as I think what will make writing pleasurable is if you see it as a passion, not as a professional obligation. If there's anything I took away from this movie, is the first commandment of writing. And here the two of them are beside the typewriter. And William tells Jamal, write the first draft with your heart. Rewrite with your head. Write the first draft with your heart and rewrite with your head. So when you are writing your first draft, the temptation is there to write the final draft in the first draft, which is absolutely impossible. So when you are writing, just pour down your ideas, pour down those raw thoughts on paper, and don't edit. Because many times we begin to self-edit while we are writing that first draft. Just write everything down. And then in the second draft, you now write with your head. So whatever you have in your heart, pour it out on that piece of paper or on that laptop or computer. And then later, when you have the opportunity to revisit that draft, rewrite with your head. Now, the thing is, we need to make time to read. We need to develop that culture of reading, and also spend time to also think and also write. Find out what works best for you. And one way of doing that is by developing a to-do list, all right? Then also cultivate the daily practice of writing. Yesterday evening, before I left the office, I decided to do something, write the story of my life. I just wrote a paragraph and I left, all right? So have a writing schedule with flexible, self-imposed deadlines, all right? So you can also set targets. Is it a paragraph a day, a section a day, or a week? And then also be consistent there. Consistency adds up a lot. You'll be surprised how much you've accumulated at the end of the day. Then avoid distractions. Food, make sure the refrigerator is not right in front of you while you are writing. Your phone is far away. For me, I would just put my phone in my bedroom because I know that I will be tempted to look at WhatsApp or look at some Instagram videos. Then also when you write, always start with an outline. Someone says outlining is writing, not a prelude to real writing. Okay, people who write a lot outline a lot. So with this, your work begins to take shape. All right, so it's very important that we learn how to write effectively. For me, effective writing consists of simplicity, coherence, and clarity. You must be able to write in simple words, and then there must be logic. There must be a logical presentation, and it must also be clear so that people don't begin to guess otherwise or begin to say, is this guy trying to say this? Is this what this guy is trying to say? So you then see that writing and thinking are two sides of a coin. When you start writing, you will then notice that your thinking now begins, your thinking faculties come alive. And in the same way too, the thinking also drives your writing. And then when you write, also be mindful of your audience. Many times we assume they know they are in our heads. No, they are not. So you need to assume that they are not, and write in such a way that they have no idea what you are talking about. And then also, some opportunities we could take advantage of is non-academic writing opportunities. Is when you write, compose your emails. Some of us are secretaries to committees. We write minutes of meetings. Then also reference letters. I know this is now, it's been simplified, made a lot easier now with the advent of AI, but we can actually make an attempt. Sometimes we are asked to review for journals or even assess for promotion. So we need to be very intentional about that quality of writing. I strive for the high standards of excellence and not perfection. So avoid that imposter syndrome. I know someone who would always say, my writing is not good enough. And at the end of the day, he gets nothing. He has nothing to produce. So you could also play what we call the devil's advocate. I would love to say more about it, but because of time. So what I'm saying is learn to critique your work. When I write, what I do is after I've typed on the computer, I then have it printed out. I feel the texture of my work. And then I get my red biro and I begin to self-edit myself. In fact, one of my colleagues came in one day and said, are you editing your students' drafts? I said, no, actually I'm editing myself. And he was shocked. Okay, so for me, that's how I identify flaws. And then also anticipate a series of what if questions. What if we tweaked it this way? What if we said it this way? What if it was portrayed this way? What if it was, presented this way? And another trick I would like to share with you is read out aloud your draft. You will feel ashamed. When you read out something, you'll be like, this is a very poorly constructed sentence. Then you now begin to see some spelling errors, and then you now see some illogical statements too. And then also learn to make haste slowly, festina lente. Don't do hurried work. Well-crafted papers take time. I remember one of my very first papers I wrote took me 3 years to publish. Yes, not that after I had submitted for publishing, but it took me 3 years to write, really. All right, and it's one of the papers I'm very, very proud of. I'm not saying you should allow your paper to take 3 years. No, that's not the point. So the thing is, you keep refining till it matures, and then also be a storyteller. See how that story can emerge from all of this. Then also, there's also the problem of the writer's block. It's unavoidable, but it's also surmountable. So if you have one, please take a break. And what I often do is take a walk. Just take a walk or do something else. Do something entirely different. And then come back to it maybe later that day or the following day. And then when you write, let your work lie fallow. Because the longer it lies fallow, the longer it ferments more. All right, so it helps your writing to become very crispy, very engaging. And then you are able to cut out redundancies and also irrelevancies. So that way you then have a fresh perspective. And then also embrace constructive criticism from trusted, I want to emphasize this again, trusted colleagues and peer mentors. When I started off as graduate students, I used to share my writing with my friends in other departments, political science, economics. I just wanted to hear their thoughts, all right? Now you can also share with your mentors. You could share with your supervisors. You could share with your colleagues. Let them get feedback, and you'll be surprised the kind of feedback you get, very useful feedback you get from them. Then also try your hands on non-traditional research outputs. There's what you call academic blogs, all right? I got introduced to that when I was at Oxford. I had never done one before, and I find it very, very interesting. So also try writing for newspapers too, and also writing policy briefs. And then also you could learn to attend writing retreats online or in person, and then attend writing workshops too. Like some writing workshops organized by the British Academy, Lagos Studies Association, the IFE Institute for Advanced Studies too. And then you could also adopt a peer mentor, have a writing coach. Okay, I write today and I share with him, coach, what do you feel? Have I done a good job? Then he or she gives you back your manuscripts. And then some years ago, I used to subscribe to these outlets, the Daily Writing Tips and Gina Hayata. They were very, very helpful in my early days, especially in my graduate school. Now I picked some very, very useful advice from these two, but I think they are no longer operational now. And then there are also podcasts by Steven Pinker and David Perel. Steven Pinker is a professor of psychology at Harvard University, but I mean, you would think he's a professor of English language, but he's an amazing writer, and he has written a book which is free for download, which you can freely download, which is Sense of Style. It's a book I would recommend you read. And then David Perel also has a podcast called The Rite of Passage. So I also follow him on YouTube. Again, when you write, always have at the back of your mind your research question. What is that central question? Okay. Those of us who are very familiar with the University of Ibadan, there used to be a signpost at the Computer Science Junction, which used to have this caption, which says, questions, not answers, create knowledge. Okay. I always loved reading it whenever I'm driving into my faculty or leaving the faculty. But fortunately, the signpost has been taken down, and I don't know why. So when you write, make sure that your paper has one clear and sharp idea. And I want to leave you with this last thought from this movie again, that the first key to writing is to write, not to think. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow, wow. This is very practical. This is very, comprehensive, and it feels as if we are taken through a school of just how do we write, or how can we hone our skills in writing. And you can see the claps on the screen. We want to say thank you very much, sir, for this very, 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 very impactful lecture. There's just a lot of things to take away from this, and we are indeed grateful. I think we want to open the floor for questions now. If you have questions, you can use the raise hand icon so that we can call you, or you use the chat. Just put your questions in the chat, and then we can call you to ask your questions live. But then before we do that, want to get reactions from people, and let me invite first the director of the Linkages and Partnership Office, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and that's in the person of Professor Niwa Obuaroti for his reactions. And after that, I will invite some of our other professors who are here. Professor. You are muted, sir.
I'm trying to unmute. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I want to say good morning to everyone. Good morning, our invited speaker, Sir Oshayemi. Good morning, everyone. I could not join early. When I tried to join, it was more or less like the maximum has been reached. Eventually, I got in some of that, and what I met was awesome. Let me start by the last statement, the William Forrester statement, and the film that was referenced. That was a good and classic example of how somebody was mentored into writing, and everything that the speaker has talked about involved mentoring people to write and how he has gone through it, the process that is involved. And it's been very, very well presented. I mean, it's been the period I joined and what I've listened to have been something that this is wow, this is wow. Talking about outlining and talking about the fact that one of the things I want to comment on is the fact that outlines are not finite. It is also possible to adjust what you've outlined as the writing goes on. And that's one of the things that have helped even shaping and changing the process of writing. But at the end of the day, you want to get something that you yourself will be proud of. There's no perfection in writing. It's always something that is, even when you have finished it, you still want to see something that you want to change, you want to adjust. And it's always like, can I do more? Can I do more? Can I adjust something? But he has given us a very good and clear direction as to how to do it. And I love the way he has presented it extensively. And I want to thank you for the presentation. We really, really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So I think I don't, let me check. I've not seen questions. I think the only question that I've seen in the chat so far is is if the recording or slides will be shared. This is also being live streamed on YouTube. We have some people who joined on YouTube to watch this, and so if you would like to watch it again, just go to to our YouTube channel. The link will be posted here very quickly. It is OAU Central Office of Research. That is the title of that's the name of the YouTube channel. Then you can always find just go to the live session and there's live section, and then you can find all our past sessions and also this one there. It is archived there for your reference and for some of us to watch all over again. So we have a hand up, and that's from Oyekomi Baba Timei. So please, can you unmute and ask your question? Please go straight to the question. After Oyekomi Baba Timei, I'll be inviting Professor Folashade Hunsu to give a reaction, and then Professor Grace will go to. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mine is not a question per se, but to appreciate the presenter, Tolu Osayomi. It's been a kind of a very interesting development for him. Recently, I had the opportunity of going through some of his works, and it was like, wow, this young man has come this far over a short period. And I just want to give credence to the fact that all that Tolu said today are not just out of wanting to make a presentation, but these are practical things. When you see him, the way he does his things, and you will just appreciate him. And when he comes to tell you some of these things, you will know that, yes, this guy is really talking from practical experiences. I just want to advise that he keeps it up, and then that the audience today will have one or two things to learn from the presentation. Thank you very much, Tolu. Thank you thank you also to the organizers. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for the words. I'm sure we could see him grinning, so I'm sure he appreciates them. So let me invite Professor Folashade Hunsu from the Department of English of Emmanuel University for our reactions. You can unmute, ma.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma.
I hope you can hear me. I don't know what the
Yes,
network
very
is doing
clearly.
around here.
We
Yes,
can
Yes.
hear
thank you
you
very
very, very
much,
clearly.
Professor Shayomi, for that wonderful presentation. Okay, thank you. I appreciate what you have done this morning is to refresh our memories and our skills in writing. I would like to encourage all our younger colleagues on this call this morning to go back and watch the session. I'm still going to do the same because it's such an interesting one. And for us as African scholars, we have many duties, we have responsibilities, not only to provide knowledge, to spread knowledge, we need to rewrite, we need to do some form of activism with our scholarship. And to do that, we need to show skills, we need to show depth, so that our voices will be heard in reputable places and journals in our different fields and areas of specialization. So thank you very much for for organizing the COR of OAU, and thank you, Sir Professor Oshayomi, for the presentation. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Ma. Professor Grace Ogunlusi, you can unmute, Ma, and
Okay, good morning, Dr. Shayomi. I want to thank you very profusely for today's lecture. And sincerely speaking, there are many takeaways for me personally from your lecture. And the truth is that, yes, Professor Wabatime has expressed his appreciation and attested to the fact that this is who you are. But without knowing you, I know that people don't give this kind of lecture except that is who they are, very practical, very real. And you have challenged everybody, even not just the students, not just the younger ones, because we as lecturers, as writers, as scientists, we need to keep reading. Continuous learning is a lifelong journey. Nobody should say, "Oh, I'm now a professor. I'm done." Keeping notes, like you have said, critiquing your own work. These are very valuable practices to make anyone a very good writer. So I want to say thank you to you so much for investing in yourself and investing in everybody here, because from your experience that you have shared, you have made a lot of impact, and I thank you so much. However, I just want to maybe pass this to you as questions. I've seen some questions in the chat box. There are two things that I wanted to shed more light on, especially for very senior colleagues, writers, I mean, all of us as academics, and the younger ones. You spoke about the need to find your voice. But I've also seen in this academic system that there are people who become your mentor and they want you to follow their style strictly. If you are using certain words that are not, I mean, like they want to reproduce themselves exactly in you. So what do you advise to students and to, well, maybe mentee and mentors, and then students and their supervisors in that regard? That is number one. Then the second thing is, what do you advise to those who critique their work so much that they end up not even publishing it, not even making the first attempt to send it to any journal? Because I've also seen people who will look at the work, critique it on their own, maybe not just others critiquing it, and then they eventually drop the work off. Yes, I think those two questions, they will benefit everybody. And I want to thank you once again. I want to thank COR. I want to thank every participant on this call. Thank you.
thank you very much, Ma. That is Professor Grace Ogunlusi, the Director, Intellectual Property and Technology Transfer Office, OAU. Susa, let me just read all the questions so that I can answer them at once. Yes, so this is from Omosh World. This is very interesting and educative. Okay, is it possible to get the slides? I think that has been answered. All right. Odumurayo Adeyeye asked this question. I think we're actually losing the reading culture among the Gen Z. So how can we resuscitate the reading culture again, especially in this era of AI? Mr. Odun is, asking these questions from the ethics office of the Institute of Public Health, OE. And then there is another question by Abiola Mohammed, which says, lecturers continually preach against the use of generative AI in writing. However, scholars now argue thinking isn't only writing. How do we as students navigate this amidst the heavy distrust of AI use by senior academics and researchers? So these are the questions. So I think you can frame your responses and give it at a go to the ones Professor Gulusi asked and these other two questions. All right. Over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for the kind words. My senior colleagues at the University, Obafemi Awolowo University, I really appreciate you. And I also want to particularly thank my mentor, Professor Oyekomi Babatime. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me the platform to rise and also believing in that young man who used to sit in your office at NISA, Ibadan. Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. AI, as I said earlier on, I borrowed the language of that English proverb that it could be a good servant, but a very bad master. And I think the reason why many academics, particularly senior academics, distrust AI is because of its abuse. At a staff meeting I had here with my colleagues, I said this AI thing has become an epidemic. All right, because I had a personal experience with a postgraduate student of mine, and when I read his proposal, I found out that I think this was masters. This is at the master's level now. I mean, all his references were fake citations. They were all fake, and I had very, very serious issues with that, serious concern about that. And I made him to realize that, look, this is wrong. This is unethical. You can't outsource your entire thinking faculty to a software. I'm not saying AI should not be used. You can use it to brainstorm. Why can't you use it to learn new things? Why can't you use it to learn concepts? For instance, I want to be a better writer. Okay? AI, ChatGPT, cloud, how do I become a better writer? Okay, I read something about this concept or theory. In layman's language, can you explain to me what it means? I mean, these are different ways, constructive ways in which we can use AI. I think the reason why colleagues they are emphasizing, even when I give assignments to undergraduates too, I don't even ask them I don't request for typewritten assignments because what we find now is copy and paste.
Yeah.
You just find copy and paste. So now I insist that please, handwritten, let it be handwritten. Maybe
welcome to the club.
Maybe that would encourage them to read what they actually, these AI results. But to the question on how do I become a reader, buy books, read. The University of Ibadan UI Bookshop, they all know me there, especially the security. In fact, I remember one afternoon I went there and the security woman there said, Oga, long time, we don't see you now. So that's to let you know that you have to buy books, and you don't just buy and put on your shelves to intimidate your visitors or intimidate family members. You must read them, engage with this material. Because the more you read, the more it reflects in your quality of speech, in your diction, in your vocabulary, even in your thought process too. You will be amazed and you'll be like, wow, Tolu, I'm surprised you've changed, right? So this is, then also the imposter syndrome, as Professor Gunlusis mentioned. Yes, I had that problem myself too. In fact, it was so bad that even after I had published some articles, I would go back and read and be like, how could I have made a very foolish mistake like this? Sometimes I even feel like writing back to the journal that, please, can I be given the opportunity to rework some sentences here? So, but at some point I had to, I think it took some prayers, I think. And also I had to also believe in myself And also try as much as possible not to strive for perfection, but to strive for excellence. That whatever you do is good enough, and learn to believe in your abilities and also accept them the way they are. So I think that was that's what I did, and that was what worked for me. Yes, there's also that temptation to reproduce ourselves, excuse me, in our students. Okay, I was very fortunate to have a very, very fantastic supervisor. And of course, he allowed me to express myself freely, but of course, within the confines of proper communication. Okay. And I do know some colleagues who would insist that they must do it this way. Yes. Well, I would just say for those who find themselves in this situation, I would just say maybe you just endure for the meantime, especially if you are doing a degree or something. Just endure, but at the same time, try as much as not to fall into that trap, so that you don't you lack that self-expression. I want you to lack that self-expression at the end of the day. All right. So, but try and see how you can still remain original, authentic, and also be yourself at the end of the day. I don't know, Mr. Ogoye, if I have treated all the questions. Please.
Yes, I think you have already. Although we have 2 hands up, I hope there are questions, and please, if there are questions, you can go straight to the point. One is from Dr. Johnson Egbemudia. Please, you can ask your question very quickly.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to commend the presenter for the excellent presentation and for giving us an insight into the way of writing. I must say this in concerning issue of mentoring, because sometimes we try as much as possible to reach out to mentors, but oftentimes you see that most people, they don't really come out. I don't know whether it is as a result of their busy schedule or that. For example, I am able to be part of this meeting here because of my own mentor. But I have had some other terrible experience when it comes to others. I got to know about this meeting today because of Professor Akiyemi. I saw his CV online one time, and by virtue of that, I reached out to him. Within days, he wrote back to me and all that. And since then, we'll be communicating. But there are others, when you reach out to them, they are like, the body language is not really good. So I want to appeal to senior colleagues, because some of us that reach out to you, it's because sometimes you are confused, but somewhere along the line, as you browse the internet, you're able to maybe meet one person who is able to fit into the expectation of what you have. So when you have such persons, we should try as much as possible to make sure that we do the best to absorb them, mentor them, so that they can overcome their fear and become stronger and become greater part of our research community. And I think that will help. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm from actually Denis Osadebe University, Asaba, Delta State. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson Egbemudia Dudu. Thank you very much. I agree with you that mentors need to be there for their mentees, teach them the ropes, guide them, and provide context to what they are doing. But at the same time, we also need to be very mindful of the fact that mentors too are human beings like you. They also have their own, personal and family obligations too, and professional obligations too. It's very tough, especially as you go up the ladder. And you find out that to whom much is given, much is really expected. And it's very difficult. I remember I sat within, I think interesting, it was at IFE last year. I sat with 2 professors, and a newly promoted professor was asking a senior professor, Prof, how do you cope? It's not easy being a professor. I didn't know this is what it takes. All right. And we listened to this senior professor share his own experiences. So it's not really easy. So we need to really understand and also bear with them too. Some of them have seen your work, I have seen your emails or messages, and they have you in mind, but they just don't know when they would have the opportunity to. But at the same time, too, we should also try and see how we can also reach out to them, not only on a professional basis too. It's also be good to reach out to them once in a while. How are you doing, sir? How are you doing, man? Hope you are doing great. I mean, that way you get to feel their pulse, a sense of their pulse, and know what it is they are really going through at the moment. So it's not that all mentors are bad, but they have their own struggles. They also have their challenges, and we need to be very, very mindful of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you very much to everyone. To close us off today, let me invite the Director, University Research Office, Professor Babajide Udu, to run this up. Professor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gui. I want to sincerely thank Professor Tolu for this presentation. He's been so practical in his presentation. And then I can see that there are so many issues that are arising from this presentation this morning, just like the mentor issue. So I think we might have to, come up with a presentation that will deal with this at a later date. So I want to thank everyone who has made one comment or the other. Professor Abatimei, Professor Oluwaranti, Professor Gunlusi, thank you so much for those comments. And I want to thank everyone who have found time to attend this presentation this morning. It's a rainy morning in Ife, and then I believe that many people have prepared their coffee, and then they are taking their coffee also. So early morning coffee presentation, good. So thank you so much. And next week, we expect you to join us again for another good time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, sir. And so there you have it. Thank you so much, Dr. Tolu Osayomi, our professor of medical geography. We are indeed grateful for for this very impactful session. We're also grateful you honored our invitation, even though it was a bit short notice, but we are grateful and we just want to say thank you. We are deeply grateful and want to thank everyone who joined. Thank you for joining early. Please keep it up. Just keep in touch with us. Next week, Friday, we're going to be having another session that promises to be also exciting and very, very comprehensive and impactful. So with that in mind, we want to say thank you for coming and see you next week. Bye-bye.